ABC 10 News at 5 starts now.
San Diego County is in the middle of a dangerous heat wave, and the brutal stretch of record-breaking temperatures is expected to last until the middle of next week, so hang on. But we begin with breaking news on the coronavirus here in San Diego. County leaders confirmed in the last 30 minutes that we have now qualified to come off the state's watch list.
And that's because our case numbers have stayed below the state's requirement for the third consecutive day. However, we're not quite officially off the list yet. The state needs to review that data and will ultimately make the call. So here are those latest numbers from the county. They are reporting 406 new cases in San Diego, bringing that total to 34,065. We also have 7 new deaths, bringing that total to 622. The county says it's also tracking 2 new community outbreaks, one at a restaurant bar and one in a food processing setting.
Now, if the state confirms the latest data, we will begin a new countdown clock tomorrow that will determine if our schools could possibly reopen. But several things need to fall into place first, and a lot of parents are wondering what happens if we hit the watch list again. Our ABC 10 News anchor Derek Stahl dug through the state's documents to find answers.
Now that San Diego County is off the state's watch list, a new countdown timer begins. The county needs to post 14 straight days of good infection numbers. Under a best case scenario, schools would be allowed to reopen as early as August 29th, although that is a Saturday. To return to in-person instruction, San Diego County needs a perfect score on 6 metrics set by the state every day for 2 weeks. The troublesome metric has been case rate, which is basically case totals adjusted by population size. The county's case rate went abnormal July 3rd with a rate above 100, and it stayed that way until this week. Supervisor Nathan Fletcher thinks we can keep it below 100 with the right precautions.
So we can't have the mindset that once we're off the state monitoring list, well, everything's fine, and then we just go back to normal, because then we'll simply have it spike back up and we'll be in this seesaw situation.
Okay, so let's say that seesaw happens and we post a few days of good numbers and then one of the 6 triggers goes off. Our countdown timer would start over at 14 days and we'd have to post 14 consecutive days below all the trigger thresholds. At the moment, getting 14 straight days of good data will only allow schools to reopen and will not impact other businesses. But Supervisor Fletcher is hopeful the state will adjust its stance.
We may not have bars back open, like that's a very high-risk entity that facilitates spread. But I think we can get most sections of our economy up and running.
Thank you guys for keeping your distance.
Once schools reopen, the state wants teachers and staff tested on a rotating basis. Those test results could prompt an individual school to shut down if more than 5% of employees and students test positive. Once San Diego County gets through that 14-day window, we could always get put back on the state's watch list if we post 3 consecutive bad days of data. However, the state says once schools reopen, returning to the watch list will not force all schools to shut back down. That decision would be made on a school-by-school basis based on the testing of teachers and staff.
Our Derek Stahl. Again, the state said today it will be double-checking its data before officially removing San Diego County from the watch list. Derek is joining us now with a follow-up on this story. So you've been covering this story in depth. You've been in contact with the county. So how soon can we get off this list?
Yeah, I just spoke with the county representative a few moments ago, and the short answer to your question, Steve, is they're not sure. The state is going to review the data. The reason the state is doing this is because a lot of people have heard the state's been having some trouble with their data system, the CalReady system, in recent days. They think they've gotten all that data sorted out and they've gotten the backlog all sorted out, but they want to double check. The bottom line, though, is that it's not going to ding San Diego County. So everyone is under the assumption that we've now gotten off the state watch list, and the new countdown timer, the 14-day countdown timer, will begin tomorrow. If it takes the state 6 days to figure it out and confirm it, that's fine. They're going to retroactively grant us the time back, so we don't have to waste any more time. The countdown timer will begin tomorrow.
We know there's been some confusion. All right, if schools, a lot of parents want to know, if schools get permission at the end of the month to open, what then are the next steps?
Yeah, schools are going to have to come up with a safe reopening plan similar to the safe reopening plans that businesses across the county have had to come up with. They might include masks, physical distancing protocols, sanitization, etc. That plan does not need to be reviewed or approved by the county. Just the same as businesses, they just have to come up with the plan and post it at the school, and then they would, K through 12 schools would get permission to reopen when they choose to do so.
Derek, we appreciate your clarification and have enjoyed the in-depth stories. Thank you. ABC 10 News will send out an alert the moment the state confirms we are off the watch list. If you want to stay on top of that breaking news, just download the free 10 News mobile app. It's in your app store. 56 elementary schools in the county, they have already applied for a waiver that would allow in-person learning regardless of our status on the state's watch list. Now, the waiver is only open to schools serving K through 6th grade students. To get approved, the county will review each applicant's proposed safety plan. Once that is complete, the application will then be sent to Sacramento. Country Montessori School in Poway took advantage of the waiver right away.
The application came available last Friday night, and we applied Monday. If our waiver comes through next week, we're prepared to open on-site on August 24th.
Now, the county said it was still reviewing applications and has not yet sent any to the state for approval. Now, despite those waivers, more than 90% of the state's students will start the new school year online. Today, Governor Gavin Newsom revealed new guidelines to help students gain access to proper technology for distance learning. The new rules call for school districts to have access to devices and Wi-Fi connectivity for all students. The state superintendent said it is critical that those students have the tools they need to succeed.
These circumstances are not ideal that students are returning to school in, but students continue to learn even under these conditions. And we've got to make that a priority and to make sure that we offset any learning gaps that may have resulted when we first moved into distance learning.
Now, the governor said companies such as Apple, Office Depot, and Staples have set aside thousands of devices to help students connect. An additional $5.3 billion has also been made available to help schools implement new state guidelines. The governor said the school districts that have already applied for the financial aid would receive funding.
President Trump and his rival Joe Biden continue to spar over the response to the pandemic. As ABC's Andrew Dimbert shows us, there's a growing divide along party lines.
The coronavirus pandemic at a political crossroad. Take the dispute over masks, which science has shown helps prevent the transmission of the virus. President Trump's 2020 opponent, presumptive Democratic nominee Joe Biden, wants a nationwide mask mandate immediately.
Every single American should be wearing a mask when they're outside for the next 3 months at a minimum.
The president slamming the suggestion.
Biden's approach is regressive. It's anti-scientific. While Joe Biden has been playing politics from the sidelines, he has no clue.
The focus on face coverings comes as some schools struggle to reopen classrooms safely across America. There's a new doctor appointed to the coronavirus task force who has no infectious disease background, but also has the president's ear. He's pushing to get campuses up and running. In an interview with Sinclair Broadcasting Group, Dr. Scott Atlas saying it's, quote, okay if kids get the coronavirus, adding,
there's not zero risk to anything, and in fact in life, but to be very precise, the risk to children is extremely low.
While the death rate for children overall is lower than that of adults, experts urge that kids are certainly at risk for contracting, spreading, and becoming seriously ill from the coronavirus. And the nation's top infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, has long said the science shows masks and social distancing work to slow the spread. Some parents say they are worried about the mixed messaging and sending their kids back to school if precautions aren't in place.
Special needs families are really being devastated. We're impacted so profoundly.
Now, there have been signs showing that the spread may be slowing here in the United States. New cases continue to decrease week over week, but deaths are still on the rise. The CDC predicting that the U.S. death toll could reach 200,000 by Labor Day. Andrew Dimbert, ABC News, Washington.
And in other news, San Diego County is right in the middle of a dangerous heat wave.
And the brutal stretch of hot temperatures is expected to last until the middle of next week. We do have team coverage on those conditions. We begin with ABC 10 News reporter Cassie Carlisle. She's at Mission Bay, where people are trying to cool off.
Lots of people are out here on the bay enjoying this wonderful breeze, beating the heat, getting out from inland. As the temps climb, more San Diegans are seeking relief.
I'm getting ready to get in the water with my kayak.
We are trying to get away from the east side of San Diego and kind of catch this nice coastal breeze.
Families calling the weather down here perfect. Technically, it's 82 degrees.
We had a fantastic day. We played with June bugs. We got to skateboard.
Arena Lee brought her son and nephew out for a dose of nature and to cut down on the AC bill, doing her part during the state's flex alert.
Not only homeschooling, but trying to keep summer activities going along. I fortunately have a pool, so I get to kind of sneak out there and do that, but that always doesn't cover, that outdoor nature experience that, of course, they need.
Other families trying to cope with working at home during the heat wave.
We put on the AC every now and then. I got fans going on. We do some tea, some lemonade. I sit outside on my patio and I work from my patio.
Coming up with solutions during an uncomfortable time. And the heat will be with us all weekend. Families are telling me that they're going to come out here to the coast so they can enjoy this breeze. Reporting on the Bay, Cassie Carlisle, ABC 10 News.
ABC 10 News meteorologist Angelica Campos is tracking these rising temperatures. She joins us now with a look at how hot it actually got. Hi, Angelica.
Hi, Lindsay. And I usually am outside because of that breeze, but here in Oceanside today, almost 90 degrees, 88 degrees. It is about 80 degrees inside of my home. No AC here, so we're just with a fan and just a piece of paper getting through. The temperatures in San Diego, 3 degrees shy from the record of 90 degrees. We did break records in Oceanside, in Carlsbad, in Alpine with 102 degrees, in Poway with 101, and also in Borrego with 118 degrees. And of course, today is the first day of the real heat, and this is just getting started. Our excessive heat warning will stay in effect until Monday, but for our deserts, this was just upgraded and extended until Wednesday at 10 p.m. Temperatures will not be cooling down anytime soon in that part of the county, but we expect next week to also be hot. So I'll have a breakdown in our 7-day forecast coming up.
We know that breakdown's going to be hot, too. Angelica, thank you. Several fires are burning across the west, including 2 just north of San Diego County. They are the Lake and the Ranch fires. As ABC's Zareen Shah reports, the hot and humid weather is making it tough for those firefighters to get a handle on the fires.
Overnight, California firefighters struggling to save homes from the lake fire's wrath.
They don't want this one to burn. They don't want that one to burn. Extreme fire conditions.
Despite their efforts, the flames near Los Angeles burning homes like this, leaving 11,000 acres charred. 2 days after it started, it's only 12% contained. Flames fueled by dry brush that sat untouched for decades, strong winds, and scorching triple-digit heat.
The neighbor's house was already engulfed when I left.
Also in Southern California, in Azusa, evacuations briefly put in place as the ranch fire scorched through 2,500 acres. To the north in Oregon, investigators now say they believe the Mosier fire was sparked by humans. Over 900 evacuations in place as the nearly 1,000-acre fire continues to scorch the landscape. But there is some hope.
Minimal growth in the last 24 hours, but overall crews are making great headway in being able to get the fire contained.
And in Colorado, the Grizzly Creek fire is now scattered in several different places, spreading to 14,000 acres. The governor saying fighting it is a top priority. Resources, including crews and equipment, pouring in from all around the U.S. I'm in Los Angeles, but 30 miles away in Azusa, the air quality is bad. In fact, it's so bad that officials are waiting until the smoke clears to send out helicopters to help with the firefight. Zoreen Shah, ABC News, Los Angeles.
A federal court has thrown out California's ban on high-capacity ammunition magazines. A 3-judge panel from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that the law banning magazines holding more than 10 bullets violates the Second Amendment. State Attorney General Javier Becerra has not said if he would ask for a full court review or an appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. He also did not say if the state would seek a delay to prevent a buying spree. Robert Trump, the president's younger brother, has been hospitalized in New York City. President Trump made a trip to visit him in the hospital today. So far, the president declined to give details on his brother's illness. Robert Trump is 72 years old and a former top executive at the Trump Organization. In June, Robert Trump filed a temporary restraining order against his niece, Mary Trump. This was to block the publication of her unflattering tell-all book on the president.